It is awesome. Glad to have you with us again. Thank you. Thank you very much. So here we are at the end of August, completing our August series, my summer vacation, where we've been talking about all month long this spiritual practice of self-care. And we were taking a pause in the month of August to sort of look back at our summer and see what we've done to maybe play a little bit in the summer. We've all survived, hopefully, the worst of the heat. And we've had some travel. Some of us have had some windshield time. Some have had some exotic trips, and some have just explored their own backyards. So I've invited you to participate in the service all month by sharing your photos with us. And many of you have done that, and today we have the last batch of photos, and they start with Kathy and Chris Sheriff, who hosted a party at their home for our Treat and Move Your Feet group. And you can see the group that was there, and Isabel with the pup, I think. Yeah, and then the group also. So that was really fun. And then Patty Highland sent me a picture of her really tough duty this summer. She had to go to Laguna Beach and house set. Isn't that a terrible home? Oh my gosh. And the little beach views, like this tough duty, right? And then Craig Haley, that was with us last week, is enjoying the dog days of summer. So that's how he enjoyed his vacation. And then Carson and Tony Janes just got back from their travels in Park City, Utah, and shared some photos with us, said it was the best trip ever. And that's their condo, their friends, and then just them in great gratitude for being able to travel and be with their friends of 20 years. So thank you all for sharing. Thank you to everyone that shared photos and experiences with us this month. So we have talked this month about being overbusy is overrated. We also talked about establishing healthy boundaries and how saying no sometimes is really saying yes to ourselves. And it's also telling the universe our preferences, isn't it? It's telling the universe our preferences. And then last week we talked about unplugging to recharge. Anybody try any of that this week? Have any success with it? Good, good. Well, I told you I unplugged. I took off to Santa Fe right after service last Sunday. Had a delightful couple of days with friends. I did unplug. I did recharge. And I think I did a lot of that through laughter, because laughter is so healing. And it seems like we just laughed and giggled for 2.5 days. So it was really good. I feel recharged and blessed to have had the time. So this week we're going to wrap it up with time out. Time out, finding time with intention. Because all month, how have we been defining this? We've been saying that self-care is the intentional actions that you take to care for your physical, mental, and emotional health, your spirit, mind, and body. And we have said that we need to choose to practice our self-care because it's not going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen unless we intentionally make space for it, schedule it, and then honor the time. Honoring the time. Because isn't it easy for that self-care to just float to the bottom of our list and we never get around to it? We just never get around to it because we're always so busy with other people, obligations, and so forth that we just don't get around to that self-care, but it's so vital to our overall health and well-being. Now, I'm going to guess that most of us have a few areas of stress in our life from time to time. Is that a valid assumption? Maybe that our schedule's a little heavy. Maybe that our bank account's a little light. Maybe that our job is not quite as satisfying as it used to be. Or maybe that we're dealing with a health challenge. Or maybe relationship issues. Or maybe we don't have a relationship and we want one issues. So any of those things can create stress in our life. But we know, right, that it's not those things that happen on life's journey that happen along the path. It's how we deal with them. It's how we deal with them. And we see many examples in life about two people that will have the same exact circumstances in their life, but how they deal with them creates different outcomes, right? We see that. So many of life's stressors seem to be wrapped up in this idea of time, or more accurately, maybe a lack of time. I don't have enough time to go get a new job because I'm so busy with everything else. I don't have enough time to get a relationship because I'm too busy with everything else. I don't have enough time to focus on the relationship I have because I'm so busy with everything else. Kind of like this guy that tells us, I'm too busy to tell people how busy I am. Right? We talked about that week 1, didn't we? And when we say, I'm so busy, what are we saying? I don't have time for you. Right? I'm so busy, I don't have time for you. That's the subconscious conversation that's going on. That's what's happening. So we did talk a lot about this idea on our first Sunday, and some of the tips or the practices that we talked about. Schedule self-care daily. And tiny habits, create tiny habits in our life where we can support mind, body, and soul. And remember to halt, right? Halt that. If you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, stop and heed or feed the need. That's our body, our emotions telling us that something's not quite all right, something's amiss, and we should stop and take care of that before moving forward. Now, these are all great ways to distress, aren't they? Been talking about them for a month. But I left out this one, and this one I like a lot. Send me to the beach. I need a timeout. Send me to the beach and don't let me come back until my attitude changes. Yes! I like that one. I like that one. So we have our quote that we've been using a lot also this month, carving out and claiming the time to care for yourself and kindle your own fire. Carve out and claim the time to care for yourself. Kindle your own fire. We're busy kindling everybody else's fire, aren't we? Or putting out fires. So those are wise words, great advice. But how do we do it? How do we actually do it, right? And we're all about application. We talk about practicing the principles every week, so we're about application. But as I've looked at this series this month and been sharing all of this with you, it's like, okay, how do we actually make this work in our life when we're so busy? Well, the first thing that popped up was time management. Anybody heard that phrase, time management? I Googled it. 35,700,000 sites will tell you how to process and do time management. Well, I don't know about you. I do agree with Stephen Covey. He says in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that time management is really a misnomer. That the challenge is not to manage time, but to manage ourselves. We're kind of like, I don't know what kind of fish it is, guppies, I guess, in an aquarium, or Oscars. It's the Oscars, isn't it, that the bigger the aquarium, the bigger the Oscar gets? Yeah, we're kind of like that. The more time we have, the more we're going to fill it up. So if we stop doing something, we're going to just fill that space, right? We're going to fill it up. So instead of working on another time management program, another planner, another computer software program or something like that to get our lives managed, I'm going to suggest that we look at Deepak Chopra's book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. Anybody familiar with that book? Law number 5. Law number 5 is the law of intention and desire. And it says, inherent in every intention and desire is the mechanics for its fulfillment. Intention and desire in the field of pure potentiality have infinite organizing power. Infinite organizing power. And when we introduce an intention in the fertile ground of pure potentiality, we put this infinite organizing power to work for us. Wow, that sounds pretty cool. So what he is saying is that from what we know in the field of quantum science, energy, particles, waves, and how all of that works, he's saying that we as humans have the ability through the use of our power and our own energy to influence that field that is around us. It is around us, in, as, and through us. It's everywhere, this quantum field. And he is suggesting that we have the power to influence that, and it is infinitely creative, and it has its own organizing power to organize things and bring them into manifestation. So he's using more modern and scientific language to pretty much describe what we teach in the science of mind, doesn't he? Does that sound familiar to anybody? Because in the science of mind, we teach that that desire or those seeds come from the divine, come from God, through us, to us. And that then we plant those into the unformed universal creative medium or substance, which we call the law, and that the law does the how part. That we don't have to know the how because, frankly, we probably don't know the how. Our how would be limited to our previous experience, but the universe is unlimited. Just like Chopra says about this pure potentiality, field of potentiality. So the law then organizes everything necessary to bring into manifestation that which we have planted. Now the law is unconditioned. It's just creativity. It's unconditioned. We put the conditions on, don't we? Our perspectives, our beliefs. That's what we plant with our seeds into the law. So we put the conditions in the unconditioned law. And we get what we believe, don't we? It is done unto us as we believe. So you can see that this idea of attention and intention that Chopra is talking about are very important components in creating this life of our dreams. Attention and intention. Deepak says that the creative process works through our consciousness. Through our consciousness. And I think we proved this last year for those of you that were participating in the Pam Grout materials, the studies that we did with Pam Grout, where we were doing those experiments about what we focused on expands. And we watched that in many of those experiments that we did, didn't we? We saw that. We've proved it. And Deepak goes on to say intention organizes its own fulfillment, and that is transformative. Transformative. And I think that's the idea of thought becoming form. It transforms thought into form. We've used my beautiful music stand all year talking about how it was first a thought in someone's mind before it was ever produced. And I think we can look around our world and any and everything that we see anywhere in the material world was first a thought before it became form. And that's how this all works. So when we are clear in our intention, we're clear in our intention, and that would be the purpose or belief about the effect of our prayer. Does that make sense? The intention is the purpose or the effect that we believe about our prayer. And when we are clear with that, the unconditioned of the law, nature of the law will organize everything. Remember Ernest Holmes said in The Science of Mind, and this was a big deal when he wrote it back in the late 30s, that if there was someone in the middle of Africa that had the information or the thing necessary for the manifestation of a prayer in Los Angeles, that it would be brought forward somehow, some way, that the universal law would figure that out. And back in 1938, that was a pretty long boat ride probably, wasn't it? Not so much so today. But that's what we're talking about here, is that intention. Once we place that intention into this quantum field of energy, this infinite possibility, it is going to create and self-organize to bring that forward. To bring that forward. So when he's talking about intention, it's for the future. Intention is for the future. And attention is in the present moment. Intention, attention. So intention is like what we call our vision. We're doing our vision class right now. Our vision is that high ideal that we have. Our attention is in this now moment. So if we think about Scottsdale Center for Spiritual Living, our vision here is we empower possibilities through the revelation of spiritual truths. That is our vision statement. That is our intention, is in the world as a center, as a community, is to go forth and have that vision to empower possibilities through the revelation of spiritual truths. So how do I do that, and how do I do that with my focus? How do we do that collectively? by being in the moment and taking every opportunity to be a walking, talking example of these principles in action and how they work in our lives, to be using them in our daily jobs, in our families, with our community. Because when we know these principles and we use them in our lives, we become them, don't we? We become them. We become that positive influence on the planet in creating a world that works for all, which then supports our mission. So our intention is we empower possibilities through revelation of spiritual truth. Our attention is that we're creating a world that works for all by doing that step every single day and staying present in this moment and being active in that. So how does this help us with our spiritual practice of self-care? You may be asking yourself at this moment. Well, I want to, so the first step, of course, is to choose, right? We have to choose to do our spiritual practice. We have to choose to take time for self-care. Choose to make me a priority. Think that to yourself. I choose to make me a priority. I choose to have a practice of self-care. Got it? Thinking that thought? How do you feel? Do a check-in. Do a check-in. Do you believe it? Do you buy in? Do you have doubt that you can do it? Do you have fear that you can do it? Are you discounting it? Not going to do that? Not for me? What are you feeling? That is the belief that's being planted into this field of potentiality. It's being planted into the law. So we have a tendency to think with our intellect, with our head, and not get connected with our heart. And our head is what's driving the boat, steering the boat, right? But what really steers the boat is the rudder, right? And there's a disconnect. The rudder is our beliefs, hidden or known. Our intellect is the steering, making these choices. I want to have a spiritual practice. I want to make me a priority. I want to do these principles and practices. And yet we've got these hidden beliefs that may be in there going, I don't have time for that. Right? So our rudder's disconnected and being run by our beliefs as opposed to our intellect that's making these conscious choices. So that's a key ingredient for us, I think, is to really check in with ourselves and recognize what those emotions are that come up for us, because that is what guides us. That is what guides us. And if we can tune into that and recognize any time we're presented with a decision, any time. Sometimes we talked about this, when we say yes and we mean no, we feel it, don't we? We feel that no. That's the belief. And that's the place of creativity. That's the power within us when we can get that into alignment with what we say we want, the life of our dreams. When we can get that stuff in alignment, that's when our life transforms. That's when the law works for us the way we want it to work for us, and not by that broken rudder. How many times have we sought out a prayer or written a prayer request and not really believed it was possible? It's a nice wish. It's kind of a dream. Maybe that practitioner will make it manifest for me, right? Yeah. Give it to them, right? Give them my responsibility. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I've been doing this for several years now, and I see a lot of prayer requests. And I see the same ones over and over and over sometimes. And I've worked with clients and see the same things over and over and over. And as a practitioner, I know that there's something hidden. There's a disconnect with the rudder. And we dig and we dig and we dig and we try to find it. We try to find it and heal it and move through. So that's our key, is that disconnect. So Deepak's tools of intention and attention, they're powerful tools in a way that we can use to manage ourselves, like Covey said. It's not about managing time. Everybody has the same allocation there, right? There is no managing time. We all get 24 hours in a day, period. It's what we do with it just like we do with the experiences of our life, how we deal with them. That's what life is all about. That's what this journey's all about. So it's not about managing time, it's about managing us and using these tools of intention and attention to proactively create the life of our dreams. So what's important to you? What's important to you? I've been reading a lot lately, and I'm sure it's because of our class on visioning, about vision and mission statements, but personal ones for my life. My life. So I've been dusting mine off and looking at it again and beginning to think more about it and getting it away from this idea of me as minister, me as woman, me as whatever I might be, whatever role I might play, and elevating that up to this highest soul level of who am I? Who have I come here to be? John DeMartini talks about his mission statement, actually, that he works on it every day and has for 20 years. He's constantly refining it, studying it, and measuring his life against it to see if he is in fact living his mission and if his mission is evolving as he evolves, because that's what we do. Covey said in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that he was working on one with his family and that they worked on it for a year. Imagine if you had a mission statement for your family that everybody bought into, created together, and lived by. Imagine the conversations at the dinner table. Does what you're doing in school, in sports, in business, with your free time, your weekend time, your evenings, whatever it might be, does that match the vision and mission of your life? So it's an interesting process to think about what is that, what are my values? What are my values in life? One idea that I have read was to think about your eulogy. How do you want to be remembered? What do you want said about you? Are you living that way today? Because what we think about today creates our tomorrows, right? Are we living that way today? It's not meant to be something that's morbid by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a way of us to kind of project ourselves forward and look back at our life and see if I'm truly living the way I want to be remembered, the legacy that I want to live. So mission and vision statements can be those guiding tools in our lives that when things get a little crazy, a little chaotic, or a little rough, we can refer back to that. It can act like an anchor for us, can it? Yeah, just like it does in the corporate world. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, the author of the Science of Mind text that we use, he says, the one who wishes scientifically to work out his problems must daily take the time to meditate and mentally treat the condition, no matter what the apparent contradictions may be. Wow. Don't we get caught up in the contradictions? You see, I think that's the universe having a sense of humor sometimes. Here we are going along on our path, and there's a contradiction, right? Nice way of saying problem, challenge, any of those other words we like to use. But a contradiction comes up. We can either buy into it, or we can say, that's not on my path, that's not part of my vision, that's not part of my mission, that's not part of my goal. So watch out for those contradictions. Howard Thurman wrote a beautiful piece, and one of the things that he said is, keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. That's our vision. Our high resolve is our vision of our life and who and what we are. That's our intention. Our high resolve, keep fresh before me, that's our attention. That's our now moment. That's what we're doing in each and every moment and being present. Keep fresh before me now my vision, that I may achieve it, that I may become it. That's one of our questions in visioning. What must I become that this vision can be made manifest through me and as me? What must I become? And that's this idea of Keep fresh before me that vision. So what are some ways that we can keep this spiritual practice of self-care fresh before us and remember the importance of it? Remember the importance of it. We're going to look at our practicing the principles today. And remember, this slide will be up after service for you. If you want to take a photograph of it, it'll be up once we get finished here this morning. So number 1 is intention. And I'm going to say, what's your vision? What is the vision of your life? What is your intention? What is your vision of your life? We can activate this transforming power of intention and set universal creativity in motion. That's amazing if you think about it. We have the ability to set creativity in motion through our thinking, through our intention. Create a vision and mission statement for your life and focus on it every day. Focus on it every day. Number 2 is attention, of course, and it's that energizing power. It's the energizing power in the present moment focus. I'm making that one word, present moment focus, one word. That's what we need to do on the object of our desired manifestation. Keep fresh before me. Sounds simple, but it's not easy, is it? Anybody else get distracted? Oh my goodness. I am so easily distracted sometimes it makes me nuts. It's like, wait a minute, get back over here and pay attention to what you're supposed to be working on. But life is so interesting, I want to experience it all, right? I want to learn everything. But you know what? Being a jack of all trades, master of none, doesn't always serve us. Sometimes we're better to be a master at something. Sometimes we're better to be a master at something. It takes practice to stay focused, to keep our attention on what we desire and away from what we don't desire. Don't complain about what's not here yet or what's still here that you want to leave. That's putting energy there. That's using that quantum field and making it stronger and focused on that stuff. And that's what we're saying we don't want. We're saying we want this, and that's where our focus, our attention needs to be. And number 3, choose. Oh my goodness, we are so blessed with freedom of choice. Not only in our country, but mentally, no matter where we are. We have choice in how we respond. We have choice in what we want to do. So we talked about habits a little bit last week, and to create a habit to take action every day. Create a habit to take action every day, to be good for yourself, to yourself. Take good care of yourself. I don't know about you, but I have a real habit, routine of getting ready in the mornings and the way that I go through my processes. And if I get interrupted, I forget something, right? Yeah, because I'm no longer thinking about that routine of how I get ready. It's kind of automatic. And if I get out of it, then I'm going to forget something. I'm going to forget something. So create that same type of habit with some self-care built into your day. One of the tools, I know we talked about unplugging last week. We're going to plug back in this week and talk about technology. Our phones, most of our smartphones, have an alarm on them where you can set an alert. Many of us did this with our 1234. What are you grateful for? Where at 12:34 each day, our alarm would go off and a reminder would pop up to ask ourselves, what are you grateful for? And we did that practice. And I've come up with another one. Set an alert for SCM, a self-care moment. It's an SCM. And take a break throughout your day for a moment of self-care where you could just bring yourself present and be centered. You can say an affirmation in support of your vision. You could say a prayer. You could just rest in silence for a moment. Just disconnect. Turn away from the computer or the phone. Use technology as a recorder. We've got recorders on those phones. You can use it for sourcing information. You can do meditations. You can listen to music. There's a wealth of things that we can do for self-care just in the palm of our hands. And of course, I always invite you to work with a practitioner or get a prayer partner. Someone in our community that you could have a prayer partner with that can support you and all of these ideas. So lots of tools and opportunities. Again, I will close with the way I opened. Choose your self-care this week. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. It will not happen unless you intentionally make space for it, schedule and honor the time for it. And I want to leave us with a quote from Goethe. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things that matter least. You matter most. You matter most. So please join me as we take this into prayer and talk about things that matter most. So how good it is to go into this quiet space within each of us in recognition of the divinity that resides within us, as us, and through us as the one. Recognizing that God is all there is. There is nothing else, never has been, never will be. It is all that there is. No matter if we call it God's Spirit, essence, presence, the thing itself, as Ernest Holmes did, or the quantum field, as Deepak is referring, it is all one. And we are in, through, and as that, as an expression of it in form. We are the thought in form, as this expression of the divine. And I know, claim, and accept in that knowingness for each and every one of us that we are what matters most. That we are creators of our own life, as that life of spirit manifests through us as us. And I know this day, for anyone that has placed their name in our ministry of prayer or has a prayer on their heart in any area of their life, that we just lift them into the wholeness of the one, knowing that divine right action of spirit, that the order in the universe is here now, present, in, through, and as whatever the situation, the desire may be, knowing that love is present, joy, harmony, and universal wisdom and intelligence flows through each and every decision, each and every action, each and every person. And so it is with great gratitude that I just release this prayer into the action of law, knowing that it is done, claiming that it is so. It is already done in the mind of God. And we just release this into law now, accepting that its manifestation is already made whole, releasing it and letting it be. And we anchor together today by saying, and so it is.